Greetings. Look, I get creative, bro. I get creative, y'all. Literally found a log with a hole in it. Try to sit my phone up. Got good. All fancy with an iPad and a tripod. Just literally find something in nature. Time for this. Oh, this is perfect. Bam. Yeah. I trust y'all can hear me from back here anyway. Oh yeah. Please look. I'm as authentic as possible, man. I don't really. I need to eat something. I'm gonna eat something. One of my favorites is pistachios. So, greetings to all, peace to all. Glad you be here today. Um, peace to all, greetings. Boy, I'm feeling vibrant, boy, right in here in this sun. Um, so yeah, let me jump right into this. There's two subjects I want to talk about. I may just do another one, but you know how I dive into anything. That's that. I feel like I'm very skilled at that. To almost like throw myself over here and then wind it back in type of way. Storytelling. I have my own unique way of doing things. Let's give an honest and source to the creator for making all this possible. Um, yeah. So that being said, I was just walking up here. Like I said, I had the one subject that was I ain't gonna hold it. That hit the ground and I'm still gonna eat it. Pistachios just hit different for me. Nah, I don't even care. It just hit different. So again, it was actually a topic that I wanted to talk about. Passive aggressive behavior. Oh my god. It's so good one. I feel like I gotta do a separate video on that by itself. But what I really wanted to say before I um started this video is to give an honest source to creator the ancestors for making all this possible. Go at your own pace. It's something that I've noticed even when I see kids before they're turned every which way of trying to be everything but themselves. I've come to the self realization that this is what a lot of adults have lost sight of. You're talking about a society that teaches everyone to go at a pace of everyone else but themselves. Now, the passive aggressive thing is a whole nother topic. I'm trying to tell you, I'm gonna hit that. But this going at your own pace is so vital, man. There was a moment where I wanted to rush. This don't get this confused with being complacent or staying comfortable. We all have our seasons. We all have our lessons where we can do things where it can seem like we're lazy. Again, this is my perspective. But one thing I'm grateful of is learning as an observer or just sitting back, like being in nature, seeing the squirrels chase after each other, seeing the birds. You know, seeing nature. When you look at the word natural, see nature do its nature thing, natural thing. Humanity is so have been so imbalanced to where we're restoring that, going at our own pace, listening to our own rhythm. We all have our own heartbeat. We all have our own pace. Everyone's not supposed to be going fast, but I almost start rhyming. Going at our own pace, but we've been taught that it's all a race. No, I don't mean human race. I mean in a sense of feeling like we gotta keep up, those that grew up, you know what I mean, like keep up with the Joneses. What are we rushing to grow for? I heard a talk from someone the other day talking about they're so focused on their age that they lost sight of the child in them. Some of y'all needed to hear that. You literally have lost sight of the child. And that's what the society and systems that were in place taught us to lose sight of the child, the innocence, the joy, the things that keep us alive. At a point in time in my life where I'm doing actually the very things that I would do in my childhood. I always ventured off into the woods. I always ventured off into places where I just always wanted to find something new or try to anything to avoid sometimes like being at home. Depending on the upbringing, how my upbringing was, I would do a lot to stay away from home because of the upbringing. Oh my God. I kind of feel like somebody's watching me. But anywho, so sitting back, watching the seasons change. How you get all the way up here? Watching the seasons change, not attached to nothing. Like literally going at my own pace. That shit will bother people. Like, it took me a while to get to this point where, like, I recently, from my personal experience, had an opportunity to put some of my art in a gallery, right? Shout out to Bobby. Shout out to the House of Kai. That's with a C, I believe, yes. And that right there changed my whole perspective on um, doing things where positioning myself to be more stable, going at my own pace now when it comes to my artistry, because I'm like, I feel like I'm being led into something different, which I already know which has a lot to do with public speaking or empowering others, and more so like just doing what I love and still not forgetting about the inner child. I would encourage everyone to go at their own pace because before you learn a belief system of someone else, when you have someone breathing down your neck telling you, you should do this, you should do that, you should do that, and they're taking this on as a child, they're not learning to go at their own pace. It's like you're literally forcing. That's what I also want to get into. I was telling my partner, I was telling someone how, you know how you force feed someone? Like literally, eat this food, eat this, do that. We've been force fed through media, through so many things, having us believing that this person is outdoing this person because this person has more material gain or material possession. And the beautiful thing about nature is that the feminine aspect of the principles will always teach you no one has an advantage. storm, something, natural disaster, natural. Notice I said organic. Natural disaster can happen at any time. And then life will teach people valuable lessons. So, again, attaching myself to nothing or learning through that process, going at my own pace, restabilizing myself. Because the world, or the powers that ain't or used to be, will have y'all believing there's a race of people or people that has an advantage. Now, I'm not disregarding what has happened in the past leading up to this very moment, but I cracked the code on a lot of that shit within myself, within the fact that I'm talking about late blooming. When people perceive themselves to be played the creator or God, making it seem like they have an advantage, projecting to the world that another race or another particular people are at a disadvantage or less valuable, only for the balance to be restored within all of this. No one has ever really tricked someone out of their position, at least from my perspective. Because if I didn't come to this awareness of who I am or who I've always been, and then seeing the powers that ain't or people in position to persuade people even who consider in poverty or somewhere else to believe that they're less valuable, words do have power. And I heard, what was it? I saw a video when it says, yeah, only if you give it to them. Only if you allow it to have power. Meaning that someone can say all the very things about you in your life. Saying you're not valuable, you're not worthy of this, so forth and so forth. I heard it all before. And guess what? I'm living proof. Because I did not let the word define me. I didn't let someone else's projections of me define me. I know I'm crushing these stats. So the funny thing is, who's really the victor here? When you really look at your life and you start to go at your own pace, you sit back, you be like, aha, bravo. Bravo to all of those, whether consciously or unconsciously or intentionally, wanting me to believe that I'm everything but fine. And so now, as I slow down and become more rooted within myself, I go to different parts of neighborhoods, go to different parts of the world, learning things. And I see similar energies playing out. I see it play out through people, no matter their culture and creed. I sit back and be like, whoa. So what that they have more money? So what that they live in this environment? This is another topic I'm gonna get into when it comes to the passive aggressiveness, conflict avoidance, or avoidance of confrontation, or why certain structures were built to keep people out. At the same moment, the greatest fear is conflict avoidance, or to avoid the conflict of even people coming into said neighborhoods. I was telling someone earlier like that, you gotta have the confidence in the most uncomfortable places where you're called to be somewhere, and not get caught up in the illusion of, oh, I'm in a new area. I gotta hurry up and obtain this, or I gotta meet this person. Oh, I need to meet this celebrity. Oh, I gotta meet this person of this status. Oh my gosh, this is where such and such live. I gotta meet him. Da 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 da. Until I realized like how much deep acceptance that I have to have in my own world and reality. It's a beautiful thing to learn to go at your own pace. People of substance and value go at their own pace. Now, for someone to tell me I gotta go out there and rush to do things, but me and my partner was literally saying this the other day on the other side of where I'm at now. It's like the world will have you believing, or your parents, people who were pressured or peer pressured, or even forced to believe from the world's perspective that you are behind. You don't have a degree. You don't have a house by 21. You're not married. Yeah, this feels good. Really away. But you don't have this at this age. So they frown upon you. They look at you as a failure, or you're, disgrace to the family. How dare you? We're gonna disown you, bucko. We're gonna disown you, nigga. Ah, nigga, how dare you not get us all out the hood? How dare, it's so many different perspectives. How dare you, Robert or Sarah, not go to the big school and, you know, the world will have you believing that your ass is behind. I like the sun. Have you believing that because you don't live in this area, because you don't live in the hills, because you don't know this person, that you shouldn't realize the importance of going at your own pace. Do y'all feel what I'm saying? Bro, I'm literally going at my own pace, which is so valuable. It's like I get to see fucking trees, the wind blow. I get to see people walk by. When I'm driving through traffic, I get to see people rush to go nowhere and don't realize the importance of your own pace. Like the world will have you believing that you gotta rush out there, rush into something, rush into a relationship. Yeah. The world will have you believe you gotta, if you're not alone or knowing how to be in solitude, the world will have you believing that you're crazy, that you question things. Society, your mother, the belief system of other people will have you believing like, yeah, man, such and such 35, bro. I heard he was in the shelter. Yo, bro. The world has literally convinced y'all to not even have compassion or empathy for people, not knowing their experiences and their background and so forth. The world have y'all believing that being yourself is, the world got y'all believing that being yourself or going at your own pace is crazy. It's out of the ordinary. What was that memo our partner was talking about? Like, even just how much you're learning so young, the world belief system and everything else about how you should have all this by this age, how you should be successful at this age. And that's why I see the beauty in why I've spoken about being a late bloomer, going at your own pace, not having no regrets or having no shame around being where I'm at, seeing the awareness. Every day is an opportunity to start somewhere, to start something new, to change your mindset. Like every day is an opportunity to do something completely different. And in that, it's like my whole value system changed around how I view myself, people, and everything. And it's the beauty of it. It's like, who can tell me anything? and I'm not saying express some type of knowledge or wisdom that they have experienced, but it's like developing your own belief system and going at your own pace is that I choose every day to get up to go at my own pace and not accept or feel guilty or ashamed because this relative or this person has a house before I did, or they got married, or they're making this amount of money, or just stupid shit. So you're literally growing up and asking our kids to, you know, what's being projected to them, which they're so connected to source of their innocence is that they're not focused on anything like that. They're not. That's it's almost like we're entertaining or giving them the idea that if you're not this, if you're not that, if you're basically not going at your own pace, then you're no good. You're not valuable. It should be wild when I be sitting back and I can pick up on the energy or see people. Once I just really go sit with myself, I'm like, yo, if you don't like this rapper, this, if you're not a part of this culture, if you're not a part of this religion, if you don't see the world like I do, if you're not going at your own pace, if you're not doing what we're doing over here, if you're not a part of this group, this fraternity, if you're not a part of this, if you're not a part of anything of inauthentic, then you're not valuable. You better not be in integrity. We're gonna attack you. We're gonna devalue you. We don't want our kids. We don't want these kids to be who they are. We don't want these adults figuring out the fact that they've been lied to. We don't want them to figure that shit out. We don't want them to be the best versions of them. No, we want to keep creating shit where we prey on their childhood wounds so they never come into a higher state or consciousness or awareness collectively that the bigger picture is that we're all trying to not only grasp the idea of being a child or the innocence or joy, but to find a path or a career, which if you didn't have monetary or money involved, still try to find a life like with that. I know a lot of people wouldn't even be in a career or whatever it is if it if they really could get reimbursed or love the life they live instead of I said something the other day it came to me. We're so fixated on loving the life other people live rather than no, yeah, we're so fixated on liking the life other people live rather than loving the life that we live. That's been the biggest illusion. It's like you got people so fixated on, you know, having these kids believing that this person is more valuable instead of going at their own pace, instead of creating their own life, creating so much more rather than wanting to be like the next man or little girl or this person because they're considered number one in their class or they're considered they had an opportunity to be around this person who's um, of a high status, as if we're all not fucking high status or high value. We're all valuable, and that's the beauty of like returning to my essence of being just being who I am. I'm like, bro, what is there to compete with? Who is there to compete with? I'm literally maybe I need to ask the fucking squirrel. I should have saved some of the pistachios and asked him like, hey, are you mad because like do you feel some type of way because he not the same color, or do you feel some type of way because he didn't gather as many nuts as you? Are you feel some type of way? And I'm relating it to money. Hey squirrel, Do you feel some type of way because his tail is more bushy than yours? Or female squirrel? Do you feel some type of way because her butt ain't as um, plump as yours? Hey squirrel, let me. Hey man, you know that, that tree, you know, it's like numbers. You know that tree down around the corner right there with the moss on the side of the. Yeah. That one right there. You know that squirrel family that live in there. Yeah. Yeah, they got like how many? Like two or three kids, right? Y'all live around in the same woods, right? Yeah. Same neighbor woods. Or yeah. Does it matter how many nuts y'all gather? Like, are you competing with them? How many nuts that y'all gather? Are you are you mad because that person like has a bigger family or obtain more nuts? Uh, no, you ain't. Oh, okay. 'Cause I kind of figure like you just going at your own pace. You're not really worried, right? No, because there are abundance. There's an abundance of nuts out there. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Hmm, interesting. So again, it's funny, man. When we really try to, if I sit back and put myself in the perspective of just like even birds in itself. You didn't see this bird mad at this bird because its wings is longer, because it's a different color, because it's gathering more worms. Hmm. Because that other bird doing the same, similar, not the same, but they may have to go this far to go get the stuff for their nest. This bird may go right here. You know, we not all doing the same thing at the same time. Would not make sense. So again, your own pace. Who has taught us to go at what pace? Your school systems, your everything, your universities. What? Why? Your own pace is just as valuable. And again, that's what makes me reflect on even my artistry. Like I was sitting there at a time where like, okay, now I got into this gallery and so forth. Do I need to rush? No, that gives me an opportunity to realize like I have an opportunity to go at my own pace. When I see how divine intervention has came in for me transitioning, having to go through eviction with someone, and then seeing how they was treated, seeing how the lies that were told, seeing how family treated us through certain things, seeing the transition from going from the floor to bunk beds, going from certain things to where you realize it's like, are you able to see what you need to learn, or when an opportunity is presented for you to do things, are you willing to plant the seeds but not receive the harvest in the same season? But are you willing to plant the seeds so when things do present itself, it's just like you going back to the squirrel. A squirrel got to harvest same the nuts, right? But people think squirrels get nuts all year round. No, because sometimes when certain seasons come, they have to harvest. It's no different than looking at nature and reflecting back to us as human beings. You're going at your own pace, but the disposition or the imbalance is that you got people working or trying to work for a living when there's an abundance of everything. I was telling someone today, most of the U.S. is vacant, but people don't know that shit. They all trying to run to the city. They all trying to believe that they gotta live somewhere where it's so crowded and shit, where it's so much energy, so much anxiety, so much going at a rabbit's pace rather than a snail's pace. There's so much that is focused on and geared towards a race rather than the human race in itself. So there's so many things where people don't realize there's different energies when you go to certain cities. There's different energies when you go to certain places. You ever walked into a grocery store, a busy grocery store, You didn't realize, like, all of a sudden you feel and you be like, man, oh God, I gotta, just like a busy highway, there's an energy. Freeway, there's an energy. Um, Going to the hood, there's an energy. There's a different environment and climate there. So one of the biggest things with even going at your own pace is adaptivity, like being able to, if that is a word, to be able to adapt. That's one of the greatest things that I have learned through life. Is like even through transitions or even through traveling or experiences, is learning. When you learn to go at your own pace, you learn to adapt to the environment. I'm someone who grew up in the South, and recently going through transitioning from a place like Ohio. Like, whoa, I ain't used to like. I'm used to like I'm gonna put on a jacket soon because yeah, the high was 60 something, but at the same moment, I'm like, bro, 60 something is like could be low for a spring in the South. You know, we used to the 70 all through the night, getting down to a low of maybe 50, 60s. Then you get to the summer, it's even more hotter. So a lot of things has changed, or it's learning to adapt. But can you be able to evolve wherever you are? You put a squirrel in a different environment, if they're not used to like a state or a certain, they have to evolve. Um, And so that brings me to like even people who never got outside of their hometown or even traveled, they're so content or they've adapted or become so complacent with where they are that they're not willing to become uncomfortable. They're not willing to build their confidence in an uncomfortable environment. That's the beauty of all this. I had to learn to be more confident in my artistry through my transition, in my experiences. You have to build your confidence through my YouTube, build my confidence in certain areas where I felt like, whoa. At times where when I was in the South, certain areas I felt even more confident. I mean, in a way, but at the same time, I was alert because there still was that energy of demographics where the energy of people who hated themselves or didn't really were secure in themselves, there really isn't going to be a big support as it would when you travel somewhere else where the demographics are different because people are more secure. And just because they're more secure when it comes to the environment, still doesn't mean that they don't have vices, they don't have things that are going on. Um, it still takes someone as an individual like me to still be confident in my own skin, be confident in my own natural abilities to speak um, in places where are not as welcoming for darker people. So again, no matter where you are, it still takes for you to learn how to adapt, to evolve, to um, be who you are, no matter where you are. So with that, um, it is beauty in going at your own pace because there's moments like again with the artistry, I feel like, oh my gosh, man, I gotta get this, I gotta get this, I gotta get. But what is, if you can sit still, what is the universe showing you? When I really realize how much of abundance there is, I stop trying to figure out like where certain things are gonna come from and start looking at all the resources. I recently, like I told you, sometimes if money, it's not that like for one, you're not gonna hear me say what I do not have because DO comes before NT, so I do. When you're in a transitioning or learning to adapt, the divine could be trying to get you familiar in the unfamiliar, so that when you're adapting, you're realizing that your emotions have to change, your perspective, everything has to change and shift for you, for this abundance, for this prosperity, or for certain seeds to be planted, so that your viewpoint, so that your consciousness, whatever you want to call it, your perspective on life changes, changes for the better, changes for you to evolve for the betterment for you and the ones that come after you or your family, your lineage, however you want to look at it. So, that perspective in itself is that are you in the uncomfortability of things, have the confidence to step out, to go speak to people, to build your social network, to build your net worth within yourself, your value. That goes back to even the uncomfortability of like, I could have become complacent with people who want to use my artistry, like, oh my gosh, let me just stay in this position and realize that there's nothing more that's gonna come from this because um, getting like a few $100s from masterpieces when I was in a said area. But then a transition can look like you going without something just to stabilize yourself again. Well, maybe I'm not getting this result because these clients that I'm still accepting and knowing that my value has changed. So going at your own pace and learning to adapt is whether when you do move into another area, your mindset moves. Your body doesn't just move. Your physical and spiritual, emotional, all of you moves. That means when you shift, when you relocate, it's almost like your everything relocates. And that's why I feel like can keep people in a place of complacency or just being stagnant. Or it's not just their mindset, is the uncomfortability of what comes up when they're in said environments, climates, or different demographics. Can they adapt? Can you adapt? Can you believe in yourself even more when you are in a discomfort because you moved here or because you did this? And everyone's not willing to do that. And that's the beauty of it's almost like changing schools where you had old friends. Or for me, again, when I was um it's like you're telling God like, oh, or the creator like, oh, my friend circle or my mindset shouldn't change because I no, that's like a child moving to a different school and everything has to change. They move to a different community. They have to adapt to the new environment. That's how things are always changing, even the seasons. A tree, life, things have to learn to adapt to the environment and climate. So even with that, when it comes to me going back to my artistry, even when I moved away, I say like 2 years ago from the place I was in, I still had people or old clients wanting to reach out. But my mindset has changed to where I needed to stabilize more of who I am. I became more stable. I recognized why certain results or certain things wasn't happening because if I wanted to live a certain lifestyle, if I deserved a lifestyle where I wanted to travel from creating my content, from creating my artistry, from creating or writing a book, then guess what? The old me gotta the drift away. I gotta leave the old me behind. And that old version of me or the version that I have to keep at bay is what some people still, wherever they are in another place where I'm no longer, they still, due to their belief system, still have that version of me in their head. And that version of me is just really reflects a version of them. So even through a transition, I still have to rebuild and recreate what y'all don't see outside of social media. That's the beauty of integrity. That's the beauty of going at your own pace, not having someone rush me. To be like, oh man, you gotta get this, you gotta have this, you gotta have this car, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. Da 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 da, or else you ain't. But then no one has never saw what the divine has revealed to me. You ever got a vision or you ever got something where the divine has revealed to you um, vision? But y'all, yeah, this one thing a gem for you in the spirit or what something is revealed to you. It's just like the story of Joseph or anyone else that you know had a vision. Time does not exist in the spirit, so those things are timeless. And that's how you have to look at your gifts in your life. When you're going at your own pace, everything that you're doing is timeless. It's effortless. It's valuable. And that's the thing where I had to go at my own pace, where I mastered my artistry to where um, that at a time where I would rush because I was in survival mode in my mind or survival. So I gotta get this out, gotta get this out. But as I progress, as I become more stable emotionally, mentally, physically within myself, instead of those couple masterpieces that I was putting so much effort into, it was just to get certain things, but never put me in a position to stabilize myself. So when I mean what I say, and I say that, like I was telling someone years ago, like my art is international, but at the same moment, what I create shall stabilize my life. I shall live an abundant and prosperous life from my artistry, from what I create. Okay, so what do I have to do? I also have to, if I'm looking at this house, if I'm looking at this place, this high rise, however I want to live luxuriously, or however, whatever I want to live or I deserve, why shouldn't my price reflect that? Because that reflects my value of self. It's not, it may be expensive to someone else, but it's valuable to me. It's high value. You know, I've dealt with that from, again, that perspective of people saying, like, you know, you have people come and look at your stuff like, oh man, they feel it's worth this. But for me, if I say I'm going to, I know the feeling of having someone say, you're not going to make a living off your art. Yes, I am. I already am. Claiming it, knowing it. I've seen it. So therefore, they're projecting what they feel they cannot do, their belief system, because they don't feel they have the confidence, because they don't want to come out of that uncomfortable space to adapt to the uncomfortability of possibly being without something, or going through that transition, or going through that caterpillar stage to become a butterfly, to be able to change their mind, their location. The people away from them have to wither away. A lot of people aren't ready for that, because why wouldn't why wouldn't my perspective change from having clients to now meeting art collectors? That's a different perspective for those who don't know about art and art galleries and stuff like that. Yes, having it in a gallery is one thing, but to meet art collectors, it's almost like I'm positioning myself to do things more effortlessly. That's what a lot of people aren't ready to come out of. That's what a lot of, out of survival mode or certain demographics, depending on people's upbringing, is that that's some, for some people, a lot of folks' greatest fear is for people to break that mental chain of realizing that how much they've been in survival has caused their own suffering, to where you live in a world or a place where, as I said before, there's so much abundance. There's so much abundance when it comes to. It's so funny, bro. Listen, it's so funny I'm saying this. I literally, behind me is a home that I literally did an open house for a few days ago. Beautiful, magnificent home, architecture and so forth. Something just told me to glance, and I literally see a U-Haul through the trees. Do I feel the waves? No, because honestly, the reason I'm talking about this is the perspective. It's not that that home wasn't for me. It's just the abundance, or the me. I know what I deserve, and this goes back to the perspective of the artistry. Is like seeing that reminds me, like the survival mindset. Now, some people I know would have looked at like that, their mindset, and not congratulate the person that's going in there. My perspective is like, that's me going in there. That house, it ain't that it wasn't for me. I can put myself there like, oh, that's me with the U-Haul. That's me coming in and saying like, oh, I got that new home, or I got what's for me is for me, to the T, to the detail. And there's no difference when I say this is my price, because through that shift in perspective, and then learning to adapt to the environment, or when people say like, people get to that place and they forget about other people. It's not that you forget, you just don't forget about how you got through that shit and to get to that place to see your value. What they forgot is they forgot that they too could have been there with you and go to the ladder and go up with you. That's the thing about when people don't see the rope. They use the rope to try to not climb up. When you threw it down to support them, they saw the rope as something, they did something else with it. And y'all know where I'm getting at. Or they just pulled it down to try to, somebody say the crab in the bucket mentality. So it don't matter your demographics of who you are or as an individual. Some of you, because again, from different cultures and creeds, and again, it can be different from someone who is darker because of certain structures that are in place. But you're looking at proof of the fact that when I say I can see that perspective as me moving in, and I already am, it's more so of the joy and smiling through the transition that, again, my perspective had to change on life from where I grew up knowing what it was in a lineage or people who were just focused on money, who were just focused on survival. When I used to even have to tell my partner, like, listen, it's not nothing against people with food stamps, but I'm at a place where less I'm going to be somewhere where I'm going to grow the food for the people if they still have food stamps. Do you see that shit? The role reversal, the tables turn. And it's not even about or getting in a position more say, let me change that. In a position where I could be able to give from the harvest the seeds that I planted. To have when my cup overflows, where I'm able to give so that those food stamps or those mothers don't have to depend on that. It's all a perspective. It's all what you want to believe in your belief system. And again, the world gonna call you everything. They're gonna call you a nut. They're gonna call you crazy. But again, value, substance. No one knows that transition I had to get through for my price to be what it is. Because I know the life I want to live, and then because I know what I want to leave behind for the ones coming after me. You know how amazing that is to have an opportunity. Every day you have an opportunity to position yourself to receive said wisdom or knowledge, even from this video or somewhere else, to position yourself to better yourself. I wouldn't be here. Like the transition of having the divine say, yeah, you're gonna go this season, you're gonna go this amount of years or so forth without said money. But I want you to learn spiritual currency. I want you to learn the importance of emotional intelligence. I want you to learn the importance of emotional intelligence and spiritual currency so you can see the value in, okay, whatever you may obtain and have in this lifetime. I want you to still realize how vital your value is without and with those things. Hmm. Can you still have the joy? Can you still have fun? And that's the beauty a lot of people are afraid to go through. They'll go out there and not going at their own pace, but they'll lose themselves in obtaining and chasing the money, chasing the women, chasing whatever, seeking validation, seeking external shit, and not realizing that your spiritual currency, your value, your innocence, your joy, your essence has nothing to do with that. All of those things will come and go. Your looks, your physical, come and go. Everything. It's about art. Can you enjoy it? Like for me, I sit back, I'm like, yo, to see that U-Haul, I'm like, well, congratulations to somebody. Like at a point in time where I grew up, a lot of people wouldn't have that perspective. I grew up around people who were jealous and envious of people. I knew relatives specifically who had certain things, but were still jealous of the fact of this person had governmental assistance. I'm like, well, what's the big deal? You're making just way as much money as them, but then I started to realize it was favor. It was favor. Y'all be thinking just because people on the street or just because people live in a certain way that they don't have favor. And the reason they have favor is because they're not trying to shortcut the divine. They're not trying to cut or um accelerate at a pace where the world thinks that they should be. I really had to accept and sit back, and the divine said, enjoy the experience of being in said shelter, because this is what presented itself even at a time where you felt guilty and ashamed because you didn't want to be there. But can you see the bigger picture even in this position? Can you still plant seeds? Can you still network? Can you still sit still? Can you still create? Can you still adapt but not allow the environment to consume you? Can you still be fucking confident in yourself? I don't see some confident crackheads. I don't see people confidently obtain a place even through the drugs or certain things. And I sit back and be like, wow, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that. Because for one, those are not my vices. And for another, that addiction, that's no, I couldn't have fought through that. I tell you one thing I value about a lot of people is that no matter how people may have judged them, I still see people who battle with certain vices and still obtain things. Those are the greatest warriors. And that's how I look at myself. You're talking about even my experience with trying to learn the importance of emotional intelligence and learning about myself through all of this, with the fact of like not someone not really showing me the importance of going at my own pace or um taking on their belief system that led me to the very place. And it's not about blaming them, it's like me taking full accountability now that my role and what took me to get to where I am. But now the mindset, going back to my artistry, there's no one that can tell me that my price or whatever it is shouldn't be what it is. When I had to dig so fucking deep into the roots, into the depths of myself emotionally, to say, if I say this motherfucker is 800K, whether euros, US, whether Belize, whether Colombiana dollars, pesos, whatever, then so be it. Then that's, guess what? There's somebody in another country that will see the value. But am I going to still have the confidence when it presents itself to say, yes, I received that? Then the persistence and the consistency to move forward and not to look back and feel any guilt or shame or have an imposter syndrome when it comes to success, especially as a darker man, especially as a man who know what it took to get here and not having to step over anyone to get here, who chose integrity to get here, who chose to honor himself, who chose to love himself, who chose to go to a retreat, who chose to go treat himself to something rather than trying to enjoy the pleasures of his life, who chose to be honest with himself and not try to bring everyone along, who chose to celebrate himself, who chose to accept the fact that it was his hands that had to create these things when no one believed in him, when he had no support. There are times where I reflect where I didn't say I did everything independently, but it's more so where I had no support. There are moments in your life where, you know, we act like babies just jump up and we hold them the whole time to walk. No, they get up and learn to stand up. Yeah, we might put them in a walker sometimes, but they still have to get up. They still have to get up and choose to stand and walk and not stay there. There's a difference between being still and rooted in who you are and say fucking the distractions of the world rather than being lazy and complacent. That's how I see certain demographics of people or just people I know I grew up with or whatever. Is that there's no judgment. They just lazy. They're lazy. They're either lazy, and I'm not saying all people, they're just lazy or they're just complacent. They just want to stay where they are. And that's where you have to lead people. Lead people the way you lead people. What is that saying? Leave people where you left them. Or yeah, what is it? Leave people how you found them in a way. But you can also leave them better than where you found them. In the sense of like, um, plant seeds, move on, and that's one of the greatest things I also had to realize going at my own pace is like learning to when I do walk away from a situation is did I leave more better? sometimes when you're choosing yourself and moving forward, you're choosing to elevate and evolve and to become a better version for you. And so at times, depending on that other person's perspective or depending on their lifestyle, it will show you that they're not willing to go at their own pace. They're willing to still try to be dependent on things that don't bring them fulfillment or happiness. And that's why I'm so honored to do this and speak. It's simply because it's to I'm my biggest inspiration, but also to inspire the youth that you too are your biggest inspiration, even in the moments where there are going to be times where no one, it feels like you're not going to have no support. And that support may simply come from the God in you or source, where you have to dig deep to believe in yourself. And you have to care more. Let's be honest and fucking be real. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like, oh, everyone cares. No, a lot of situations has revealed that people don't care for me. Let me be real. Going at my own pace will sometimes reveal that people are pissed because I'm going at my own pace. Because I'm choosing not to go out there and do certain things. Because I told you I've seen a vision, and this vision told me that this was gonna happen. But can I have the integrity? Can I stay persistent? Can I stay consistent? Can I stay rooted? I'm telling y'all, bro, I've been in situations where it's either relationships or certain home environments, certain things where people feel like I should have been doing this. And every time I feel like I should have second guessed myself, I'll create more like disease within myself, discomfort. But every moment I listen to my intuition and go at my own pace and follow my own heart, my intuition, and listen to my discernment when it comes to certain places, my intuition ain't ever misguided me. My inner GPS is more important, like so vital. Don't ask me why, like certain, like right now, I'll give you an example. Like I know people who have held on to clothes for 10, 20, 30 years. And they don't need to see the importance of the energy, right? For me, I throw some shit away fast and have faith to realize like something to be replaced. I've been called, what's it? Some people have called me a panhandler. Some people have called me snitch because I chose to speak truth about certain things. Call everything just because I choose to stand in integrity and stay rooted in what I've already known that was going to happen. Had I not changed my perspective on having the same old clients and so forth, and that mentality of survival, my art wouldn't be in the gallery. Positioning itself just for the right person to come along and say, I have to have that, and I'm going to give you more than what I know you deserve. And then I had to get within myself to feel worthy of that and not and literally discard everything that had to do with imposter syndrome. For any mother lover to think I'm going to feel guilty over what was aligned for me in the stars and the ethers and what I aligned with, have several seats and sit back and watch and get your popcorn. Because a lot of you don't know exactly what I was